Hello and welcome to the Browns Blitz. Today is Wednesday, May 5th. This is episode number 347. I'm your host, Rod Bloom. Joining me today is my brother, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
It's going great, Rod. How's it going with you?
It's going pretty well. I had to look at that date. I'm thinking I thought we already had May 5th, but I guess yesterday was the Star Wars Day, right? May the 4th.
May the
4th be with you.
That was day before yesterday, right?
Or day before yesterday.
Yeah,
There's today the 6th.
Today's the 6th, yeah.
Today's the 6th. I knew something.
I still bought a Cinco de Mayo beer, but it's actually the 6th.
Okay. Yeah, I knew the 5th didn't sound right when I said it. So May the 6th. All right. 347. We've got our guest, Casey Kinnaman, with us. Casey, it's great to have you here. You are the co-host of All Eyes on Cleveland and the Barking Browns podcast. Everybody can find you at Case Knows Ball on X. What am I leaving out? Anything? You keep yourself busy?
Nothing. Yeah, that's it right now. I've stepped away from writing for a little bit, mercifully, and just doing podcasts. And I think I'm better for it mentally right now. I may jump back into writing next season, but I'm going to take this season and just talk everything out instead of write it out.
That sounds good. It's been a little bit since we've had you on, but I think you've been on this podcast probably about as often as anybody else. So we love having you on here and talking Browns. So that was a great time to catch up with you. So we appreciate you taking the time. We know you got a busy podcast schedule going. So. This week, we're still kind of getting over the draft and the UDFAs and camp invites and all that stuff. There's a little bit of news, so we'll kind of go through what we can. But I guess before we dig into any news or anything, Casey, let's just get your thoughts in general, first of all, on, I guess how you felt the draft and the UDFAs and all that stuff went, where you think the team is right now, and your just general thoughts on the upcoming season.
Well, I do have to hand it to Andrew Berry. I was very critical of him going into the draft. And I know the perception is last year he hit the draft out of the park, and it was a different world without DePodesta. I remain skeptical. And you're not going to find a bigger lover of Harold Fannin Jr. or Carson Sweshinger than me. But the reality is you have to hit on premium positions in this league. You have to have quarterbacks, left tackles, wide receivers, defensive end, and cornerbacks. And Andrew Berry inherited 2 of those 5 groups and has whiffed on everything up until this draft. And I know you can't squeeze blood from a stone. Banking on him getting a franchise quarterback in this draft was, didn't seem like a fool's errand. But I tasked him with changing this wide receiver room because you could do it in this draft. And I pleaded for him to double dip. This was a draft not to just get one, but go get 2 playmakers. Mission accomplished. Like, I got to hand it to him. He did what I thought he could do in this draft. Now, they double dipped sooner than I thought they would have, going, at 24, then right back at 39. I thought it would be more spaced out. And then the one thing that's kind of up in the air right now is what you view Spencer Fano as. He was a trade back candidate for me. If they ever want to stick and pick at 6, for me it was Francis Malinois, Carnell Tate. Those are the 2 players that I would accept either of those names at 6. And if you trade back, which everybody was kind of circling with the Cowboys, which almost came to fruition. My trade back candidates were Fano and Mekhi Lemon. So they traded back and got Fano. Can't be mad at that either. And then you go get a guy that Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is special. I just had a feeling that they were going to target him at 39. And when they didn't get him at 39, I just thought it was gone. Like, okay, well, someone else is going to get that stud. You trade back up at 58 and snag him. So based on those 4 picks, they could have picked me with the 5th pick, and I would have been happy with that draft. It was like,
Sure.
Just those 4 picks by themselves, I have chef's kiss. You've increased the talent. You did it in premium positions. and you go and pair Grant Delpit with a guy who's he's raw, but he's a more athletic version of Grant Delpit. And if you look at what Rudinger was able to do and Rutenberg was able to do in Atlanta, he mirrored his safeties. They basically took the same amount of snaps all over the field. They didn't just play one deep and one up. They literally, if you look at each position, they'll all give out the same amount of snaps. You got a guy you can do that with now. You can run 3 safety sets and have Hickman in the back. So I was just thrilled the way they handled it. Barber pick, I thought it was a little aggressive. I didn't think you had to trade up to get Austin Barber. But I'm not going to pretend to be smarter than George Warhop. We saw something in that young man. He can make a swing tackle. All for it. I wasn't really familiar with Joe Royer's game, so I had to go back and watch some tape after they picked the kid from Cincy at tight end. And this is before the gambling allegations. I really like Sorsby. When I was watching Royer catch passes, I'm like, this kid's got a whip. And then all that unfolded this week. But then at the very end, to go get Taylon Green. And I said it from the whole breadth of the draft, the whole cycle. If you're going to throw a dart on a quarterback in a late round, it was Cole Payton on North Dakota State. It was Taylon Green. Those were the two. They went back to back, and the Browns got Taylon Green. So I'm excited to see I think preseason is going to be a blast because of Taylon Green. He knows what his future holds. He's got all the traits in the world, so we'll see what Monken can do with him. So all in all, if you was walking out of that draft, I am very satisfied with how Andrew Berry was able to navigate and get 2 future 4th rounders next year.
Yeah. So if we throw UDFAs and camp invites into that, Casey, is there anybody in that whole big group that people might be looking past at this point that's not getting talked about enough?
Well, if you just examine what they didn't do in the draft, and everyone had their wish list, and when AJ Epinesa failed his physical, they told you they wanted to get a 4th edge for this room. They didn't address it. Tyreek Sapp and Logan Fano were both brought into the mix. Sapp was paid a pretty nice salary for a UDFA. Usually that means they have a clearer path. Same thing with Fano. So I think one of those will probably end up making the 53. Also, nickel corner was something they didn't address. Michael Coates Jr. out of West Virginia is a name to watch on that. And I like Zion Washington, the Boise State safety. So those are the UDFAs that I'm interested in the most. And I think that just if you look at their hit rates on UDFAs, basically since Diabate, like every year there's been someone who's been able to crack a position room. And so I seem to think that if I had to pick one, it'd be Tyreek Sapp out of Florida. I think that he has the quickest path, gives you inside-outside versatility, 6'3", 273. He's powerful, not a bendy type, but he can do that stuff where he can also kick down and play the 4-eye position, play some edge, similar to Alex Wright, or someone they just keep around this roster in Sam Kamara. So that might be the replacement for Sam Kamara in the long run. Yeah,
Jeff, you have thoughts you want to add to that? To what Casey was just talking about with the edges? Or we talked a little bit about it, I think, last week.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of went through the UDFAs last week, but I'm with Casey. I was hoping that we would add an edge higher in the draft. It didn't fall that way, but it's not like we're hurting. It just would have been a nice fallback position in case one of those 3 guys got hurt, right?
And I'll tell you what, the guy that I wanted went to Baltimore, a tradition like no other. I follow the prospect, and Zion Young ends up going to Baltimore. And
we talked about him a lot.
Yeah, now I got to hate him. That's how this goes.
Yeah. Things change fast. Things change fast on draft day. Guys you love, and
Casey, were you surprised that tight ends had the run that they did in this draft? I mean,
Inexplicable.
Andrew kind of admitted that he was.
When the Jags took Nate Bokerker with their first pick,
that was like a hump.
It was like they were reading their board upside down, but it did kick off the tight end run. All of a sudden, the tight ends started flying off the board. My draft crush was Sam Roush out of Stanford. I see a Tucker Kraft style tight end, someone, because we were talking about you you definitely need another tight end to pair with Fannin, and it needs
Right.
to be a differentiating skill set, more of an inline guy, can give you more dual stuff just to be able to move Fannin around and let him be the unicorn that he is. So
Yeah.
it's, and I think Royer does a lot of those things. Ryan, the very last pick in the draft, is a dart throw at that, and also has familiarity with the quarterbacks coach who was the offensive coordinator at Utah. There's a heavy Utah influence on this draft, so maybe that's some inside information about that. I wouldn't let Jack Stoll stop me from drafting anybody or going after
Right, I hear you.
another tight end that can block and do those things. So it's yeah, I would have preferred even Jack Indries, Eli Raridan out of Notre Dame. I had several tight ends that I was into, and they went a little off script with that. And I think it did start a little earlier than they anticipated.
Yeah, definitely. Just talking about that on the podcast over, weeks leading up to the draft, I think, Jeff kind of thought that there would be guys around pretty late. Some of the guys you were naming, and they just weren't around. But
it was the deepest tight end draft in memory for me. I mean, there were so many people I've been cool with, and I honestly thought that run would have started towards the end of the third and go through the fourth and fifth, as opposed to starting right in the second, and then it got picked clean pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the good thing is when something like that happens, I mean, it did push other guys down the board. So, when one position goes like that, it helps you in other ways. They just
we were talking last week, Casey, that we've started the last couple seasons with two tight ends on the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't see that happening this year, but what do you think Todd Monken's plan is for the tight end position?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Because the one thing I could say about Monken, and I said this before he was even a candidate for the Browns, is he's a chameleon. You can't say this is his system. He works with what you give him. So I don't know if he intended to always run 12 personnel in Baltimore, or if that's just what they had, so that's what he leaned into. But we know he's adept at it. He's adept at using multiple tight ends. And if you just look at this league, the league spent years offenses spreading everyone out. Defenses got lighter as a consequence, and now everybody's condensing their formations again and running the ball. And it's the ebb and flow of the league. So you're seeing a lot of the Rams are the team I would spotlight, is they ran more 11 personnel than any team in the league for seasons. And then last year they led the league in 13 personnel. They pivoted, So we're going to see a lot of it's a copycat league. So you're seeing teams stock up on tight ends to help condense formations, and now we'll see how the defenses take that away.
Well, we have 8 tight ends on the roster, but I mean, it's kind of like me with underwear. I have eight pair, but only 2 of them that are worth anything.
Yeah.
So
you got choices, but
we'll find out, I guess, huh?
It's gonna be interesting to see the competition there. I mean, obviously, at least a couple guys are going to be on the roster, but beyond that, it's kind of going to be open and competition. You would think, seeing if they carry 3 or 4 tight ends instead of 2 on the initial 53.
Yeah, that just is why I wonder what kind of characteristics they're looking for out of those other 2 guys. If we assume they need some sort of counter to Harold Fanning. We need an inline guy, right, that can block, and I don't know what they're planning to do with that third guy, if he's just depth or they have other, are we going to keep a fullback? I don't see how we keep 3 tight ends and a fullback, right?
That's a lot. Yeah.
So
if you look at what Baltimore did, they had 3 and a fullback. I know they signed a fullback last week. We'll see how that comes to fruition. There's not.
Yeah.
Usually, if growing up, obviously we all, fullback. Every team had a fullback.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I can name all the fullbacks in the league right now. Like, there's just not that many of them.
No.
But if they're going to go back to
formations,
maybe we'll see it. I'll say this about whoever the 3rd and 4th tight ends are on this roster. You better be able to cover a kick. If you're going to hold a spot on this roster and be a 3rd or 4th tight end, then I don't know how often they're going to run 13 personnel, but you better be multifaceted to make this roster now.
Yeah, I would certainly think so. So let's get into a little bit of Browns news. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about the the Trent Baalke hire, hired as a consultant. I don't know how much of an impact he had being in the room, for the draft. Certainly doesn't hurt anything, with the way the draft went down.
First question I have is, does he know Diana Rossini?
Well, let's hope not. Yeah.
What was that? No, was that 2 years ago or no? Last year, I forget what. Anyway, well, history repeating itself, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so
we don't have a lot of luck with consultants, right? I mean, really helping us a lot.
Well, I'm stealing a line from my guy Bill Sparks on the Barking Browns, but Andrew Berry's been collecting ex-GMs like Infinity Stones. Like he's just going around. I guess everyone, if you've been in this league, he's going to pick your brain. And we actually broke down and was looking at all, because he took a lot of heat in Jacksonville. There was a lot of clown shirts, a lot of things were happening. But if you look over time, the one position he was excellent at was defensive line. He's drafted a lot of excellent defenders who are still in this league. So I don't know. Maybe he's just getting a little. I don't know. I don't know what all you're ascertaining from bringing Trent Baalke in, but like Andrew Berry can't stop. If you've worked in this league, he's going to bring you in for a consultant role.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I guess it doesn't hurt to bring him in and see what you can learn from him. Then,
pick his brain and take what you like and discard the rest.
Yeah, there's always going to be somebody else to talk to next, I guess. So, so Casey, let's get this over with. Let's talk because no matter what time of year, the only thing everybody's talking about is the quarterback room. So let's get this over with. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even really want to talk about who's going to start week one because it just feels so far away, and it's going to be one of two guys, right? So I more wanted to get your thoughts on Taylon Green, a guy who you liked, and I was pretty happy when they picked him too, and I think there's different thoughts out there. I see him as a guy who's going to take some time to develop. I don't see him as a guy who's actually in there competing for the starting job this year. And there's actually people that think that he's either competing for the job this year or he only has one season to prove himself. I just don't know how that can be. So what are your thoughts on Taylon Green and how he fits on this roster this year?
Well, you start with the traits. 6'6", 230 plus pounds, and ran a 4.3. The only other player that I can say those dimensions for is Calvin Johnson. He's athletically, he's a freak. He's got traits. You go back and watch his tape. He has everything that you want. It just has never been married together. He has the arm strength. Sometimes he gets antsy and leaves the pocket. I don't know. Did you catch the John Gruden quarterback camp thing that he does with Taylon Green?
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw a good part of it.
Loves every quarterback, by the way.
Yeah. Grain of salt because it's Gruden, but he did say the words to him. Write this down: pocket passer, because you have to learn to win from within the pocket. He has every other tool. That's the one you need to harness, because if you can do that regularly, all your other skills can come to fruition and be attributes instead of all you have. So I agree with you, Rod. It's going to take some time. Now that doesn't mean you don't have a package for him right away. Wildcat. Let's do it. Like if we're near the goal line, to me it's a no-brainer.
Have him on the field, even if he's not touching the ball.
And the point of him only having a year is crazy to me. I think he has at least 2 or 3 years before they even ask him to switch positions. If it doesn't work out, I say you get into his last year of his rookie deal and it hasn't went well, then we go for the switch. But until then, man, just bring him along. Like, who knows what kind of coaching he's had in the past? What kind of a sponge? What kind of a learner is he? Does he attack the playbook? Does he get the nuances? Because being calm under chaos is a trait that we don't talk about with quarterbacks, and it's hard. Those bullets are flying and they're faster now. You get to the pros, Can you stay calm? Can you go through your progressions? Do you understand your checks? There's so many that's the thing about this league too, is we don't develop quarterbacks in this league. We used to. The NFL used to develop quarterbacks. Now it's sink or swim. But when you pick one with a 182nd overall pick, you understand that he has the attributes. And this is Monken's first. This is a piece of clay. You're just giving Monken a piece of clay. What can you do? What as long as he can show steps over time, you keep developing it. Now, if it gets to a ceiling and it's not going any further, then we reevaluate. But I don't see him as competing for any job. If you see him start a game this year, things went to hell in a handbasket.
But you couldn't ask for a better piece of clay. I mean, with the attributes. I'm going to mark you down as a guy who believes that he should stay at quarterback, not everybody who wanted to immediately move him to tight end or wide receiver or God knows what other position. I just don't know why you try to move a guy like that right away before you ever even see what he can be as a quarterback. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, if he's going to touch the ball every play. Let's start there. If he can be special and touch the ball every play, that's the best place to keep him. And if it doesn't work out, like I said, you have him under contract for 4 years. If you get to after year 2, if it isn't going the way you think it needs to go, and you can make a pivot. There's obviously a path we've seen quarterback. We were here for Terrell Pryor. We were the landing zone for him to be a receiver. So there is options, but there's not enough this league. There's a shortage of quarterbacks, and I'm all about lottery tickets. Take as many swings as you have to until you get it. He's a swing. It's a lottery ticket. Put it in your back pocket, and we'll see if it pays off in a year or two.
Yeah.
Right, and you mentioned Brendan Sorsby earlier. Jeff and I talked about him last week, but are you out on him if there would be a supplemental draft because of the gambling?
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because of the Terrell Pryor we just talked about, there's going to be a precedent to suspend him, even though he's not in the NFLPA based on whatever the NCAA rules, which they're surely going to rule him ineligible if anything that I've heard is true, because it's regrettable that he's done this to his future, but because of the trait, some team's going to take a swing. Now that might be a second, third, fourth round. We'll see how it goes in the supplemental draft. I saw Tom McShay saying he would do a 1. I can't wrap my head around that.
In the 27 draft
quarterback class you got coming up in 27.
Yeah, you're not going to give up your 1.
Yeah, no, thank you. Now, if you're a team that picks late, if you're a team that expects to compete for the championship, obviously the Rams already kind of did this with Ty Simpson, but a team of that ilk, if they wanted to take a flyer and burn their second, I don't see anything wrong with that. For the Cleveland Browns, based on what you have to figure out this year anyway, I wouldn't waste anything above I would say a third, fourth at best.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot. And, and I asked this on X, and I think a lot of people either didn't want to deal with it because of the gambling, which I understand. I would, for me, if I'm the Browns, you dive into the gambling and figure out what's going on there first, what the issue is. And you have to understand that first. But I think a lot of people on X took it as an assault on Shedeur Sanders and the rest of the guys on the roster. And that's not what it's about, guys. It's about lottery tickets, like you said, Casey. Until you have your guy, you keep shooting shots, as much as you can. If you have a chance to get a guy that you think could be the guy, and it's not going to cost you what it normally would, maybe it's worth it. Now, if the gambling is something that's they check into, and man, this is a big thing that we think is really going to cause problems, then you don't do it. But I'm not an expert
can't be
on
choosers,
that. Right,
and
you're still looking at a guy who probably would have been a top 10 pick next year.
Yeah, he could have played himself into that for sure. Yeah, because he has the elite, that arm's elite, man. Like I said, I was just watching Joe Royer, and it was like, honestly, I didn't watch any Cincinnati games during the season, and he jumped off to me right away. I'm like, I don't even know his name. I didn't know who he was, and then I was like, I felt like as soon as I learned who he was, all this stuff kind of broke. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, it's a shame.
yeah, my third kid just graduated from UC, so I've
Oh.
seen a lot. I saw a lot of his play this past year. So, yeah, I mean he's got a lot of ability, the arm, and
There's a lot of things NFL
and
time
stuff there.
evaluators are going to
So,
be in on the quick release. It's
yeah,
there's
yeah,
a little bit of chaos in his footwork and stuff, but there is elite
yeah.
traits there, and
Just
we've seen a lot of guys come into the league over the last decade who weren't completely like Josh Allen comes to mind. Not a completely polished person. You get him in the room, you coach him up, and you see what's possible. Mahomes is another one. Those mechanics weren't sound by any means. It didn't take him long to catch on. So you just can't afford to turn that away. Now the gambling stuff makes it muddy, and I understand if people are out on it. I'm not here to talk you into it, but I am here to say until a guy shows you they're the franchise quarterback, you are looking for a franchise quarterback. So you got to flip over as many stones as possible.
Keep bringing guys on. Yeah, no, I understand.
So speaking of having your guy, I have to ask you this, Casey, because we had Ken Carmen on about 6 weeks ago, and I asked him this question. I said, Ken, is there a effort on the part of the organization right now to rehabilitate Deshaun Watson as the franchise quarterback of the Cleveland Browns? And he looked at me and he said, I understand the question. That was as much as we got out of him. I don't know. Has any cash, found its way your direction? I mean, we haven't been incentivized at all to hype him up, but I'm just wondering, how big this conspiracy is, and how many of the Cleveland Browns media are on board with rebuilding this guy's image around town.
What scares me is some of the people that I'm hearing say it. It feels like they're getting wind of. I don't know if the Browns are soft pitching this just to get public perception, see what it would be. The thing is, like, it feels like if you go that direction, he has to be so much better than Shador and Gabriel that it's non-comparable, And this is, you're just trying to find the best guy for the job. I get it. But if it's anywhere close, the tie has to go to the younger player, because if not, you're just speeding up for a dead end. Because there's nothing Deshaun Watson can do in this year that's going to cause you to go in that direction long term. Right. I can't imagine the season he would have to have for the organization to be like, oh, we're going to extend him and make that's, to me, it's off the table. But I equated it to this when they hired Monken. And for the record, last time Monken seen him play, Deshaun led a game-winning drive against the Ravens. I mean, it's like, I could see why he'd be like, oh, because if you haven't been following closely and you've been in your own little bubble, Deshaun Watson had some skills at one point in time, and you might be enamored by them. Obviously, we're the other way because we've seen the whole thing play out. But I'm sure you guys have all been at a job, and there was someone that was in the doghouse, and a new management comes in. That person's not always still in the doghouse. They have to prove they're worthless to the new manager before they, get to continue their stint. And Monkey might be able to see something. I don't know. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a hard sell, right?
If you're a 60-year-old first-time head coach, and your choices are an ex-Pro Bowl quarterback who's had a few rough years and a bunch of rookies, what are you hanging your shingle on, right? I'm trying to win as many games as I can to get to year 2, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There was a big deal made that, it slipped out that he's the leader so far in the competition. It's like, he's a 10-year NFL vet. You're installing a new system. If he doesn't have a leg up on the two guys who have been in one system,
something's seriously wrong.
Yeah, he should be. And, but over time that gap should close. And if it doesn't, Deshaun Watson's probably playing football for you. But what's the chances they all don't play? Because we've been here. When's the last time your third-string quarterback didn't take a snap?
It's been years.
Yeah.
It's been years.
That's why when you said Taylor Green plays, when you said Taylor Green starts, that's almost a given in my mind.
We just hope it's, like week 15 and not week 8 when he starts,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I've that's kind of where I was going with some of the QB room talk too, is a couple things. Again, what's this season about? You're building the roster, but QB has still not really been addressed in a way to where you feel like you've gone after your franchise guy. And my apologies to the Shedeur fans, because he could prove everybody wrong, or maybe we've got the guy. It's possible.
Which is the best case scenario.
It is, and we're all going to be happy.
Yes.
Nobody's rooting against him. Everybody loved for him to enable the Browns to use their first-round draft pick on another position next year. That would be fantastic.
Well, the thing is, you can actually evaluate him this year. You put enough around him now that it's a cleaner evaluation than last year when you had no blocking. He wasn't doing himself any favors, and then the receivers, he couldn't catch a cold. It was bad. There was enough bad all around, and if he's able to turn it around with a better cast, you start to be able to actually kind of get a good value on what you have there. And if not, the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it comes down to, what's this season about? Is it about making sure Monken wins enough games to come back year two? Is it about getting wins, or is it about figuring out your quarterback position? Is it about learning about the young guys, mostly Sanders, to see what you have on the roster, so you know what you have going into the draft in 2027? Because if by some miracle you start Watson and he plays most of the season, what are you doing in the draft next year? Are you still just going to draft another guy and let Watson walk? And what did you learn from this year? If you won 8 or 9 games, enough to bring your coach back, what did you do? And the other thing I wanted to say is, I think you've used these words of, if the Browns only get adequate quarterback play with the roster they have now, they could be, potentially looking at a decent season, not throwing out a specific
by our
number of
standards.
wins. Yeah, adequate quarterback play. So with the quarterbacks you have on the roster right now, how do you best propose that we get adequate quarterback play in order to do that? And is that really the goal for this season?
Every time Monken's had a microphone in front of him, every question they've asked him, he has tilted it right back towards winning.
Mm-hmm.
Oldest first-time NFL head coach. This is his moment. This is his opportunity. And obviously every season is going to play out different. But from a strength of schedule perspective, this is the best shot you're going to get. I can't remember the last time we had one of the easier schedules on paper.
Yeah.
Now we don't. By week 4, you can throw that out the window because no team is the same season.
Things change.
The season before, but just looking at it on face value, you got to win. And I'm not talking crazy numbers here. If you get adequate quarterback play, you'll be playing meaningful football after Thanksgiving, which for us, would feel like the playoffs. Just seeing your name in the hunt as you get into December, and just actual meaningful football. And the one thing that hinges for me, and isn't even the quarterback, how healthy is Quinshon Judkins? Because you've reshaped this offensive line to run the football. If you look at the pieces they put in place, this is to run the football. And Monken likes to run the football. I don't talk about it enough, but now it also helped because he had Lamar Jackson, which will aid a run game immensely. And he's not on this roster. But I just think it's going to be – I expect this team to be explosive and to run the football. I also expect there to be errors. I expect there to, still got some growing pains to do with younger players.
A lot of youth.
Young.
A lot of youth.
Yeah. So I expect there's going to be errors. I don't expect you'll put up with them, though. If we start seeing unforced errors before the snap, I think you're going to find guys on the sideline, something we haven't seen in years. Just accountability, which to me is a breath of fresh air. So
it certainly sounds like the country club atmosphere is going away.
Yes. And it's on notice, too. Players that probably thought they had their spots on lock You double dip and go get Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion. All of a sudden, Isaiah
Mhm.
Bond's got to earn those reps.
Yeah.
Cedric Tillman might not even be on this team by the time camp gets here.
Yeah. I don't
So
see how he
there's
will be.
that's what you need. You need competition. You need people not to be complacent with their spots because people just kind of held them the last few years. If they drafted you, you just kind of knew you were going to be here, and your performance wasn't enough to keep you off the field or unforced errors and stuff. So it's get that competition turning, man. This is how you. I expect one thing to happen out of this season. It is to forge an identity, and this was a team with a lack of identity for the last several seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe that's the
yeah.
theme this year, right? We find the identity on offense, right? We've been our identity has been a defensive football team. If we find that identity on offense this year, it gives us something to plug pieces into in the future.
Last year's offensive identity was ineptitude.
Pretty much.
Been that way for a while.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I mean, a lot of that was lack of tools, right? But it was also lack of adaptability.
Yeah, it was just running the same thing out week over week. And then for me, it came down to this is you go and draft Dylan Gabriel. When you took him in the third round, I raised some eyebrows, right? Like, okay, well, obviously you have a plan for him. You don't do that unless you have a plan. And then when they went to implement him into the lineup, you're running the exact same things you're running with Joe Flacco. Nothing changed. So to me, it was like, oh, this.
Not so much.
Yeah, it didn't pass the eye test. When you saw that 1/3 of the field just wasn't available to him on throws.
Yep, and defenses knew it from Jump Street, and they played it accordingly, and you were placed in a little box.
Right.
Yeah. So, the Browns did rework the contract of DeJuan Jones. So,
1.145.
Yeah, 1.145 guaranteed money, down from his salary was 3.6. Yeah, 3.6.
Yeah, so he had earned the PPE.
Yeah, so he apparently is going to be the swing tackle. So, and I mean, we had mentioned him as a possible trade candidate before this. So, sounds like he'll be around. Could be a lot of competition.
It makes it easier. I think it makes it easier to trade him, doesn't it, Casey?
Well, it could.
Yeah, less salary, more guarantees is what they did. Because if he would have said no, they probably just would have cut him.
I think so.
Rework this or you're gone.
It was a Jerome Ford deal, right?
For them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I would think they did that to keep him. Wouldn't you guys? Wouldn't you guys think they did that to keep him on the roster? I mean, I guess it can go either way.
They did it to give themselves a little more wiggle room.
If we're looking at what they did with Jerome Ford,
Yeah, makes sense. But I mean, obviously, there's going to be some competition for these offensive line spots, and and who knows how many they're keeping this year, because of the things we talked about with the fullback and tight end, and I'm assuming they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. So. I don't know.
You've got 18 guys vying for 9 or 10 spots right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would think they would probably lean. I think if the fullback makes a team, you're not going to carry 10 offensive linemen. I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think that with as much versatility as they have, positional versatility, right?
Yeah.
But you have some devoted centers. Between Whippler, Brailsford, obviously Elton Jenkins can play a multitude of positions. I think they want to play him at guard. Tevin Jenkins can play some tackle as well, go inside, outside. Austin Barber, you spent a pick. He's going to be here. And we'll see if, obviously, DeJuan's probably going to get first crack at swing tackle. They want to play Fano at left. I'm super pumped for Zion, a left guard. And that's the one thing I will say is most of the players, they have a strong power profile that they brought in through free agency, and people were kind of concerned because Fano's more of a finesse type of offensive lineman. I'll push back against some of that. Watching some of his run work, he is unbelievable pulling. So now I'm envisioning, because obviously we saw him at right tackle at Utah, him and Zion on the left pulling. I think there's going to be a ton of work to the right with those guys getting in motion and finding work in space. But
Nice.
what happens to Zach Zinter? You spend a 3rd round pick on him 3 years ago now. Like, this is feels like his back's up against it. Like I would. You're not going to get anything to trade him.
We've just about flushed the 2024 draft.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, Miles Harden is really the only thing giving us much value out of that draft right now. Mike Hall may show us something this year finally. But yeah, Andrew Gray backed up his best draft with possibly his worst. So you hope to get something from those guys this year.
Yeah, Hall's name's been floated as a trade candidate. I don't know what you get out of him, just the value on the return right now. He flashes during preseason. I don't know.
I would think you'd want to see more play out of him first, before you try to get something out of him. But yeah. I mean, I guess, I mean, I think you're absolutely right, Casey. I think really the roster and everything, I think to Jeff and I, to maybe some of the fans, we're thinking of this as a 2-3 year process, but I really think the decisions are going to be made based on winning, who they think they can win with, even.
I think we've been conditioned to feel that way, that we're always working on. Yeah, we're always working on something. It's like, well, maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe 2-3 years down the road, right? We're always working towards something, right? But I think those interviews for the head coach probably had a completely different tone than what we think.
Probably so. I just, I just think the whole quarterback situation, kind of, and not knowing what you're going to get in quarterback play this year, has kind of has me feeling like, even if the Browns do really well in that, I can't imagine that, maybe I'm being way more pessimistic than I usually am, that they would have, any kind of a playoff run or anything this year with this team. I mean, it's possible if Shedeur Sanders ends up developing and playing really well. He's certainly going to have the tools around him. It could happen. But I think I've just kind of taken for granted that this year was going to be a developmental year, and you try to win what games you can, especially with the schedule. And then you're going to try to really figure out either Shedeur's coming into his own in 27, or you've drafted, the guy who you think is going to be your franchise guy in 27.
The biggest letdown for me this offseason was the fact that no veteran quarterback was brought in to compete. If they'd have done that, I'd have had a different outlook on it. Because I think that that's what I think we all kind of felt like, well, they need another. You have 2 young players. I think we all kind of have written Watson off to a degree, whether it was, and we didn't want him to be the veteran that was competing, right?
No, not at
all.
all.
So the fact that he is the veteran that's competing, put a little more of a cloud over this.
Our only hope really is that Shedeur Sanders plays and plays really well this year. That's our only hope, that the team can really have an outstanding season, I think.
And Shedeur is the only hope, because he's the guy that's on the roster now, that you actually keep Myles Garrett long term. I don't think, if you don't get a quarterback, he's going to be out of here sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So if he ends up being the guy, I think that kind of quells that. You can put that to rest. But until that, that's going to be on the table. The one thing I can do, just bird's eye, taking a step back and looking at the league as a whole. Obviously, the fastest way to relevance is to have a franchise quarterback. That's I don't think that's arguable. It's the easiest way.
Yeah.
But I can't act like the last 2 quarterbacks to win Super Bowls weren't Sam Darnold and Jalen Hurts. If you build up the roster enough, it is doable now. It didn't used to be this way. We lived through the Brady, the Manning, it felt like forever. If you didn't have that guy, it wasn't an option. We're starting to see teams break through just from roster construction.
Yeah.
And if you look at what
That's
Barry
true.
did last year, if these rookies they brought in now take that step, and then your nucleus are these two young groups back to back,
Yeah.
you start to see what you can build around and what's possible. And then it doesn't take a top 5 quarterback to win it. A top 12 quarterback can win this league now. Just proof of concept. We've seen it. So I think that while you're waiting for your quarterback, just keep building. Keep building.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Flacco signed with the Bengals, Jeremy.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jeremy, I got some bad news for you. He's not available. Another guy we are not allowed to like anymore. So he's with the Bengals.
I still like Joe. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah, it's hard not to like him.
Still like Joe.
Not to. So, just talking briefly about the division this year, because Pittsburgh and Baltimore both have new head coaches in, kind of a little bit of rebuild. I don't want to go through their rosters or anything like that, but I think the Bengals with the trade they did with their first round pick and signing some defensive linemen and things like this, I think they kind of feel like this is their chance this year to do something in the division. I say that living in Dayton, north of Cincinnati, and knowing some Cincinnati fans in that. So, what do you guys think of that? Because the Bengals obviously
they're acting like it.
But we all know the Bengals only go as far as Joe Burrow takes them. So they better be hoping that he's healthy.
Joe Burrow is their Myles Garrett. If things don't turn around, he's not going to be re-signing there. So they're going all in. They're which I don't get their philosophy of going all in. If you're going to trade the 10th overall pick for a defensive tackle who's amazing, I'm not here to besmirch Dexter Lawrence, but they just lost who I call minimum Crosby. You signed Max Crosby, you renege on the deal, you go get minimum Crosby. So the Bengals don't even have that at defensive end.
Casey
you
with
go
the
get
jokes.
a defensive tackle, then you only re-sign him for 1 year. None of that makes sense to me, man.
Yeah, that's
and
a Bengals move right there for sure.
All the Bengals fans I talked to were like, "Well, we don't think that Bain or Downs will be there at 10." They were both there at 10. You could to me it was such short-sightedness, but I think they have to make moves right now, because if it doesn't turn around, I don't think Joe Burrow is going to sign an extension.
Yeah,
I think you're right. And I saw so many mocks with the Bengals taking
one of those guys,
either one of those two guys.
Thank God they did. I'm glad they got Dexter Lawrence. We don't have to deal with them for a year, and then because Mike Brown ain't extending that. Like that's the other thing. You're getting another guy getting $30 million on your team. That's not very Mike Brown.
No.
Yeah, Jeffrey, we talked about Sorsby a little bit earlier. Yeah. So, I don't know. The Bengals, you never know, because if they have problems at the quarterback position, their team just kind of crumbles. They just kind of get to where they just can't compete. They're just a totally different team. One guy. And it's I think about that with the Browns. We've wanted this franchise quarterback all the time. What if the Browns get a franchise quarterback and you have him for a few years, and then you got to sign him to this $50, $60, $70 million a year deal? It messes up your payroll, and then what happens if he's not available? The Bengals are going through this, and it's just, you have hope every season because you got the possibility because you got that guy, but every year when he goes down, it's another whole season that's chucked as soon as that guy gets hurt.
Feels like Groundhog Day for them, I'm sure, at this point. And Burrow through 6 seasons has only made it through 3, I think. Or is it 7 seasons now? Like he's barely batting over 500 finishing seasons. And some of that's obviously their offensive line play has been shoddy, but a lot of it's he doesn't protect himself from himself. He's always out there, trying to make things happen because he believes in himself. And I would too. If I was Joe Burrow, I'd believe in myself immensely.
Well, yeah.
But it's cost him a lot.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. Yeah. Yeah. So, so what do you guys hope to see? What in your head is kind of a best case scenario for the Browns offense this season? If you kind of just think about it in realistic terms, what could you hope to see the turnaround be this season? What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I think the ability to play complementary football, run and pass. The receiving core has to be better this year. With the two guys that we brought in, even if we don't see everything right away from those guys, it's got to be better than what we've had in the past, right? So you pair that up with what we've got at the running back position, and hopefully the ability to do some blocking. Just the ability to play complementary football and run the ball when they think we're going to pass, and vice versa, for once, should keep us in some games offensively, and that's something to build on.
Yeah. What do you think, Casey?
For me, it's about establishing that identity, and for that identity, for right now, it's Monken, right? What does he like to do? Obviously, he's almost scheme agnostic. If you look at, when he was in Tampa, they were running 7-step huck it, chuck it with Bruce Arians. Then he gets to Georgia, and and all of a sudden Stetson Bennett is a playmaker, But you see what he was able to do with Ladd McConkey, what he was able to do with the multiple tight ends that they had, Bowers, and so that's what I'm looking for. We know what he was able to do in Baltimore, and he said it in an interview last week with Ken Carman. They were asking him. He said, I think about it in terms of touches. Who do I need to touch this football? Establish your identity. For me, that's Quinshon Judkins. That's Harold Fannin. That's Concepcion. Like we need to funnel the ball, And if I look at Concepcion in a bubble, I know a lot of people were concerned with his drop rate, which I get it. They weren't, and I'm not trying to besmirch Jerry Jeudy, but it isn't because he's letting the ball get into his body. He's not trying to catch the ball with his chest. It's some things that he can refine with his hands, concentration stuff. But I expect him to be a Zay Flowers type at this next level, and I think he's a better athlete than Zay Flowers. He's more twitchy. Now, Zay was more experienced as a route runner, but I'm just literally funnel the ball to your playmakers. Be efficient. I know it's going to be this. No one wants to hear it. This first 4 weeks might be a little rough, acclimating all these new players. And it's not just them. You assembled a whole new offensive line. They've never played together, and they have to move in concert. It's a symbiotic relationship, if your offensive line is not all in sync, things are going to look broken. After they get that together, I expect them to take off. And I'm 18 to 21 points a game. Like, I'm not asking for the world here. If you can consistently break 20, this defense you will win games with this schedule. So, and I don't care if it looks pretty.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of that. I don't care about the labor pain. Show me the baby. I need complimentary football, and I need give me 20 points, man. You give me 20 points, I'll consider that a success from where we were at a year ago.
So you just made me think of a question that I've asked before, Casey, when you said that we could get off to a slow start. I've got the over-under. I forget, right, what did I say the over-under was on this? It was week 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that. When does the fan base and the media start calling for Todd Monken to give up play calling?
Don't do it to me.
Oh, man.
I mean, there's going to be people that are doing it week 2, just for the record. There'll be
somebody. Yeah, because
I guarantee there will be.
Anytime a play doesn't work, you got somebody saying it's bad.
Who are they going to clamor for? Travis Switzer?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be better, right?
Bring somebody in.
It'll be Gruden.
You and I would be better.
Bring somebody in, yeah.
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 I don't know. I just trust Todd because you didn't buy a system. You bought a guy who adapts to his talent. So that's all I'm asking for here. And it might take him a little while to figure it out. A lot of moving parts, a lot of new people coming in, and the offensive line all being new at the same time doesn't help those matters. But I don't know what date it's going to be. It's next week, right? We find out the schedule.
Could be 2
That was
weeks.
coming
I
up.
said, yeah.
We
Could be
need
2
some
weeks.
bad defenses at the front of that. That's all. I
That'd
just
be nice.
in those
Yeah,
first 5 weeks, give me 2 or 3, suspect defenses, and we can maybe tread water until these
Get
things
started,
start to
yeah.
gel. But the
Yeah.
talent level's
Yeah.
there. The talent level of the skill positions is finally, I would at least call it adequate. They're young and unproven, but we know Fannin, we know if Judkins is healthy. That's the biggest X factor in this for me.
Mm-hmm.
If he's healthy, you run your offense through him, and you figure out a rotation. Figure out a way to use Dylan Sampson for the love of God. I couldn't wrap my head around the usage last year, but you got to figure that out and go through what you know. And if it's a ton of 12, 20, 13 personnel to these receivers take off, that's fine because I know what Harold Fannon's capable of. So you have answers. It's just figuring out how it all comes together. And we don't know who's pulling the trigger as quarterback. So it's just so hard to say the route that this could take. They don't report for minicamp until June 8th through the 11th, I believe.
Yeah.
We'll start to figure out some stuff around the end of that, what the pecking order is. And then it's all just conjecture of, who people prefer versus who they feel the real quarterback should be.
Right. So we know how early it is, guys, but if you had to just take a stab right now at who would lead the team in receiving yards this season, who do you guys have?
You want to go first, Jeff?
Well, I know who you're going to say, Casey, so go ahead.
Let's Harold Fannin.
Harold Fannin.
I was so huge on him coming out of the draft. And if you get him into the hands of a creative play caller, because you can literally line him up anywhere. And just individually, if you look at his skill sets, you don't get it, but when it comes together, he can be special. He can just be a matchup nightmare for teams.
Yeah.
So
He was last year.
We know Todd can call. We know Todd can dial it up for tight ends.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's ever had a tight end as versatile, because for everything that Isaiah likely is, Fannon's a step above that in my mind already. He's never had a season that as productive as Harold Fannin has in one season in a broken offense. You put him in a functional offense, and I think you're looking at someone who can be a double-digit touchdown guy. I'm 80 receptions, 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns. That's who I see Harold Fannin as.
Yeah. Rod, I'm trying to remember the stat that I gave you last week or the week before about those two guys that we drafted. In college, they had 19 receiving touchdowns last season, right? In the 25 season, those two guys together had 20. Yeah, 20 receiving touchdowns. And the Browns as a team, this is receivers, tight ends, and backs, had 16 all year. So you're absolutely right, Casey. There just has to be more touchdowns to go around. That's why our offense is broken. We can't put the ball in the end zone. So who's going to get us there? Harold Fannon's the easy answer for sure. I think everybody else is 1A until they prove otherwise. I'd love it to be Concepcion or Boston, but I think that's probably not realistic for rookies.
Yeah, you got to knock the king off the hill, right? First.
I mean, yeah, he's already proven himself, right?
Oh, yes, he has proven himself. It's at the receiving position. I mean, I guess you just got to see what happens. I mean, any one of those, any one of the three top receivers could end up being, the top wide receiver on the team this year. It's just, we'll see. I mean, it could just be the relationship with the quarterback who's playing too, not necessarily the guy who's actually open the most often.
Yeah, if you look at just if it's Shador Sanders. Shador has a pretty decent deep ball. He puts good arc on it, gets underneath of it.
Yeah.
Denzel Boston is a ball winner down the field. He is a big target. He makes contested catches, Velcro for hands. And if you more look at Concepcion's closer to what Travis Hunter was at Colorado, just get the ball in his hands by any means, whatever, behind the line. I just also think it's funny we finally got someone who can do an end around, and Stefanski's no longer here to call it. He's been waiting. He waited years on that orbit motion to work. And you finally get Concepcion, a guy who can just get the ball in his hands. And that even also means kick returns. For the love of God, I think we'll get a kick return touchdown because Concepcion this year. That'll be a welcome sight. But if I had to say which receiver would lead this team in touchdowns, probably Denzel Boston. And I would, if we had to pick yards, I'd say Concepcion. And I'm really hoping they just phase out Judy's role over time. I know it's going to be hard to do because of the inexperience, but we need the talent, the youth and talent to take over in this unit.
Yeah, he's got guaranteed money this year, right? And then none next year. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
It makes sense. Here. It makes sense.
Yeah, he and Watson could be on the same bus.
Could happen. I mean, because you're going to have some of your other guys around. I would think Isaiah Bond's still on the team for sure.
Oh yeah, he's guaranteed
wide receiver. You kind of want to build it like a basketball team, just differentiating skill sets, body types.
Sure.
I think Malachi Corley serves a purpose as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look Corley, Bond, Concepcion, Boston, if those are your four, I think you feel pretty good going forward.
I think so.
You know?
Great.
Yeah, definitely. Jeremy's saying Flacco in 27.
Never let the dream die.
Yeah. That's a guy to put us over the top. Yeah. Well, is there any news or anything I didn't get to, guys? Anything I missed?
I think so.
Not a whole lot going on this week. So
yeah.
Nope.
So yeah. Well, let's get some closing thoughts, and we'll let everybody get on with their evening. So, Casey, it's always great catching up with you. We appreciate you dropping some knowledge on us and sharing your thoughts. So, anything you'd like to leave all the listeners with?
I just appreciate you guys having me on. I always like coming and chopping it up with you guys. Once again into the fray, we get to this point. I feel more optimistic after the draft than I was going into the draft. It played out way better than I would have envisioned, and I think that you're building a young nucleus. And I like this. I like how Monken's talking. We've never seen him be a head coach, so the jury's out of how it's going to play out. I get Bill Parcells vibes from Todd Monken, I also think this because of the way Todd Monken holds himself in his demeanor. He's not going to play any nonsense from the media. Like if he gets asked some dumb questions, the Parcells part of him will come out. So make for some interesting stuff this summer when they get into camp. Yeah.
We'll enjoy that until we don't, right?
We'll call him Chill Parcells. He's a little more mild mannered. But yeah, I know. I like the direction that they're headed. Obviously, this all hinges on do they finally get a quarterback. Pray that we find that out. But if not, I do feel better knowing that they've built the boat around it. They're constructing the boat to keep this thing afloat. So when they get the guy, it'll go, as opposed to getting the guy first and praying everything falls in line. So I think they've done what they can to bolster whoever is taking snaps, and I just hope that when we get to Thanksgiving, man, we're in the hunt. That's all I'm asking for.
Sure hope so.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. Closing thoughts.
I'm just going to put it out there again. I think the expectations in Berea are a lot higher than they are on this podcast. The reason that we have the coaching staff that we do instead of Grant Udinsky or somebody young is that we're not on a 3-year build plan here. We're looking to win right now. So let's hope that happens.
Well, to touch on Jeff's point, from worst to first happens every year.
It does.
There's a division.
Not to us, but it happens.
It does.
Well, the Patriots were last in their division. They went to the Super Bowl last year. I mean, it's if you just look around the league, it's a thing, So these turnarounds don't have to be arduous. If you catch lightning in the bottle, man, you can do it. So
we saw what
it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, we saw what the division was last year. So yeah. All right, guys. This has been the Browns Blitz. We thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.